Well, hey there, everyone. Welcome back to a very chilly last episode of the year, Island Church Weekly Podcast. Joined as always by Pastor Will. Are you staying warm over there? It's where I am. I got a sweater, or a jacket, long sleeve shirt, everything.
Yeah, it's a little nippy. It's one of those days of kind of a it's even kind of has a wet kind of feel to it, fall.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
for
It
most
does.
people.
It feels like all day. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of a little cloudy and stuff like that. But hey, we're on an island. We can take two or three of these days a year. We can suffer through it.
You can suffer through it. Yeah, we went over to the beach the other day, and I said, I know the cold's coming, but the fact that I can still do this at the end of December is pretty nice. That's for sure. It could be a lot worse. I talked to my friends in Philadelphia, and they got snow everywhere. And I said, yeah, I'm glad to be here. So, Pastor Will, how was Sunday at Island Church?
Well, it was good, and even the Thursday before that, we had the Christmas Eve service. And Christmas Eve service just went so outstanding. I was very pleased, and we had a lot of our people out, and I would tell our people, if you didn't see this, we don't do this every year, but we actually recorded it and we actually streamed it live. And we had some people that had to be out taking care of family or travels and other kinds of things, and so we actually had some people watch it. But if you missed it, just a very moving service, just outstanding. I mean, we were packed out and put in a bunch of new chairs and that kind of thing. So it was good, and a lot of good feedback from that. Some people that actually live on the island around here, and we know some people that will come at Christmas, and maybe they'll come around Easter. We understand that, but getting them to come and to engage with us is just so vitally important, because you don't know when God's going to move in their life and when they're going to respond to God's moving in their life. And
Yeah,
so that
absolutely.
service just went outstanding.
Awesome, awesome. I
So
love that.
that was good. And then Sunday, we finished up a series, The Good News of Christmas, and we talked about sharing the good news. And that's a vital part of it. I mean, we share all types of manner of good news with people. And we have the greatest news. The shepherds had this great news, and we have the same great news, the hope of the world. And so we want to, part of why we're doing this whole bridge and building the facilities and is to create opportunities to talk with people about the good news, the
Mm,
greatest news, actually. But the
yeah,
gospel, actually, as you know, Matt, from your seminary, it just means good news.
that's it.
So evangelism, sharing the good news. So
Yeah, absolutely.
great Sunday on Sunday, and have good number of guests. A lot of people have been traveling, but I hope, again, if you're watching this, you missed the service, then feel free to catch it on YouTube, right? They can watch
Absolutely.
that, and certainly appreciate Steve Bibbins that helps lead that whole media group and with the different cameras and post all that stuff up. And you would think our church is a large church by what we
Yeah,
do, and
quality
we
will.
want to do that because we want to do this stuff with quality. But it was really good. So good
Yeah,
service.
awesome, awesome.
Well, how about your kids? And what about Christmas for you guys?
Yeah, we were pretty low key. We stayed local, had some family over. We have a big New Year's Eve party that we're doing for our neighborhood
Mm,
tomorrow. That'll be kind of more of a kid friendly one from like 4 to 8 o'clock. So we just kind of invite the neighbors, get a bounce house. Just trying to, yet again, it's doesn't cost us much money. I'll throw some meat on the smoker and we'll do some hamburgers and maybe a brisket. But it's just a really easy way to be a good neighbor, right? Like at the end of the day, so much of trying to reach out to people and share the good news right with them is really comes down to, like, do you already have relationships with them? That's like our friend Scott always says, people come best to Jesus on the arm of a trusted friend. Sometimes that looks like bringing them to church, but a lot of times it looks like just being a good neighbor to them. And so we'll be doing that on the 31st, which will be a lot of fun for us. Probably we'll have 20 kids in our house and a bunch of
mm.
adults. Should be fun. But yeah, so it was a good Christmas. Kids got way too many toys, which is always the standard when they're the ages ours are. But it was really nice time of rest, kind of time to reflect on what God's done in 2025 and just kind of dream about what's next for 2026. So yeah, thanks for asking. It was a great season for us, and yeah, really excited for what God's got next for us. So speaking of
Everybody
what's next,
stayed well. Oh,
yeah,
everybody's
everyone's doing
good.
well. Hey, no sicknesses. All the bugs stayed away, so we're grateful for that. That's for sure. So, speaking of what's next, what's coming up in the life of the church that folks need to know about?
Well, we're going to begin this new year, but even prior to that, we've had some good news. You may have. I don't think I posted a picture yet, but I probably should. Maybe I'll share some on Sunday, a couple of pictures. But some of you know that we had soil testing done. I think we put it on here that we're going to do that. They were here. They did a great job of that. They very thorough, got what they needed. They dug 30, 40, and 50-foot holes. Well, they drilled down into a hole and got down there. And so any day we should have our soil sample back. But someone asked me, but that's not a pass fail. We will pass. It's just a matter of how much resistance the soil and under the ground is going to provide, so they'll know in what type of supports they need and how many supports they're going to need. So it's not make or break thing. It's just a how much. And of course, there's other structures out here. This company had done several other properties around, so they knew something about what they were getting into. But a lot of progress on our plans. I saw new designs with lighting. There's the AC units are being planned. All the mechanical stuff is done. It's all coming together. And as
Awesome.
David Brooks, was doing a phenomenal job. And every time you see David, do thank him. But David's
Yeah.
doing a great job with it. As he said, this thing will get snowballing. It won't look like anything's happening, and all of a
And then
sudden
all
it's going to
at
be
once.
happening. So
Yeah.
it won't be long. I mean, anticipate in January that we will have all these plans that'll be fully ready to go to the county for their approval, get permitting, and then after that, it's just raising our support financially and
Absolutely.
getting our financing together from people that are giving gifts and from people that have made some commitments to down in the future. And then whether we borrow internally or borrow from other outside sources, we'll be getting all that stuff together. But we'll get final numbers on what that'll exactly look like in terms of cost just in the next 30 days, maybe 45 days. We'll have all that. So everything's going to finally pull together.
It'll be moving fast once it gets going. That's for sure, right?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it'll be overnight activity, except it wasn't overnight. There's a bunch of nights.
After 3 years of work, right?
That's right. After
Awesome.
crazy setback. Anyway, but we're just very excited about that. And in terms of New Year, it's just a great opportunity again, the turn of the calendar. You know, sometimes we need to turn our calendar and our relationship, you know, with God. Maybe there's things we need to either add to it or things that we need to take away from 2025 and set a new direction, new path. But it's kind of a fresh thing for a new year, in particular, you know, life of a church. We're certainly saddened by some of the losses that we've had this year. I've got an upcoming funeral with Paul Titchnell, which we need to communicate to you guys at 11 o'clock, actually, on January 2nd. So that'll be this Friday. And then there'll be a memorial service for our founding member, Helene Lowe, a celebration of her life coming up in January. So that's planned as well. So, but those people did their service to the Lord faithfully. And now it continues to be our turn to carry the gospel out into Terra Verde and beyond the area around us. And so it's a great time for that. And so maybe you'd be thinking about and be asking God, what do you want to do in my life? What do you want me to do maybe differently in my life? Something I'm adding, sometimes taking away, but in going into this new year. But it's a good time for everybody to kind of think about stuff like that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. And then, do you want to say a quick word about we're probably going to release this on the 31st of December, which is kind of end of calendar year end.
Right.
That matters a lot for just general yearly budgeting purposes. Do you want to say a quick word about the importance of generosity kind of this year end?
Yes, I mean this is we've closed some of the gap financially, but really our giving is to the Lord. It's not just to the church. We've not deficit spended. We've managed our resources quite well, and what's been entrusted to us, what our people have faithfully given to us. But if you're looking to make an end of the year gift, you can do this by October 31st. The way this works, you can go online and do it, right? That's one way, or if you postmark it. If it's postmarked, if you put it in the mail, if you go that direction, as long as it's postmarked by the 31st. But if you're trying to have tax credit for 2025, we'd love to have people to support, again, what we're doing. And again, this is when we give back, we're giving back to the Lord and to his cause. And we want to see lives change and see this community reach for Christ. That's why we're here.
Absolutely. And I always want to say a word about, because some people, we think of like cash giving, but a lot of people have non-cash assets, whether that's stocks, bonds, any sort of investments that you made in the year. That's also something the church is very capable of being able to steward. And so if that's something you want to do, I would say give either Pastor Will you a call or Jolene, correct? And you can help make that happen.
Yeah. And we've had some people come to us and they're going to put the church in have put the church in their estate.
So it's huge.
It's just a remarkable way. It's a portion of that, not their entire estate, but a portion of that. And thinking about the ongoing ministry needs of the island. Again, it's God placed Mike Wetzel here to lead the church, found the church, and the people to help start it. And as the only witness, other than individual witness, in terms of a church body here on the island and the surrounding areas, and it's one that's been faithful to the word and faithful to reach out in the community. And so that's when you invest in that, you're investing much beyond ourselves. As someone once described, projects. One of the guys actually going to do the general contracting for us said, Will, you're working on a 100-year project, but let's cut it in half. You're working on a 50-year project. Long after we're all off the scene,
So, yeah,
the gospel will continue to go forward. And so it's really important. So
that's huge.
But-
That's huge. Well, thanks for sharing a word on.
but people can give lots of different ways. And we're certainly thankful for those that have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How can folks be praying or kind of taking the next step to get involved with the church this coming up week, or maybe this coming up month into the new year?
Well, we want to express Sandy and I just on a personal level first, and I'll transition into a prayer concern. But some of you participated in a gift that was given to Sandy and I for our ministry here at the church, and we received that in the last week or two, and we're just very grateful for that. But as you think about the church, think about us, we're going to be carrying a lot of the load inside the church as we have been doing. Jolene's doing a phenomenal job. Matt, certainly appreciate all that you do to help us as well, and Sandy's carrying a big load and. As well. But on top of that will become this building.
Yeah.
Thankfully, God's also given us David Brooks and others to help us with that. But if you have some skills out there or some talents or just some interest, say, look, how can I be of help in this whole thing? There's be a lot of aspects of this thing, but you can pray about your part of what that will look like from everything from we've got to get insurance. We've got eventually we'll have to start looking at we'll have to look at policies. We'll have to look at how do we equip the resource? There's just a lot of pieces of that. How do we communicate to the community? How do we get the extra financing? There's a lot of pieces in that. And if you'd like to be involved in that, that would help carry some of the load, and pray for us, for Sandy and I, as we try to sort through and do the essential kinds of things, because as we talk about, Sunday's always coming. There's always the normal schedule of the flow of the life of church. And you've experienced that yourself, Matt. So you know about that. Now you're talking about some work on top of that. Glad to be able to try to do this, but it's going to take all of us to do it. So we're so thankful for our people for serving. But if there's something that you see in terms of a need or some particular ministry you'd like to start, let us know. Pray about how God would use you, and pray for us as we try to provide direction.
Awesome. That's a great word, Pastor Will. Thank you so much for sharing that today. Thank you all for watching the Island Church Weekly podcast. We'll see you back here next week.